Hamas and other Palestinian factions have agreed to a document setting out a plan for their disarmament in Gaza in what United States President Donald Trump has called a monumental step towards peace and security. The agreement stipulates that the precise disarmament roadmap must be prepared within 14 days, with possible extensions subject to the approval of an international verification body and the agreement of all parties. Trump framed the agreement as a success for the Board of Peace, the body established to oversee Gaza's governance. But the board has shrunk dramatically to just a small pilot project in the south of the Gaza Strip. Its work has been constantly undermined as Israel has continued with its bombing campaign and increased its occupation of Gaza. Every agreement between the Palestinians and Israel, from ceasefires to negotiations, has seen Israel not stick to any of the terms agreed. Israel has refused to continue talks for a permanent settlement and continues to increase its seizure of the territory. This agreement, for the moment, lacks any mechanism to monitor Hamas's disarmament, who would oversee it, and who would even implement it. It's likely Hamas agreed to this in order to call Israel's bluff, as Israeli officials have made clear even if Hamas disarmed, they would not leave Gaza. It remains to be seen if this agreement, like the others, progresses, as Israel hasn't stuck to any of the deals that have been agreed. Spanish political commentators are accusing Israel of seeking to undermine Spain for its stance on the war in Gaza. This is as tens of thousands of Moroccans surged into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta, with at least 57 dying. Whilst Europe's far-right media and political parties have gone into overdrive about the threat of immigrants and hordes of foreigners invading the continent, the collapse of the Spanish border security raises many questions. Ceuta and Melilla, another Spanish territory 250 miles to the east along North Africa's Mediterranean coast, constitute the EU's only land borders with Africa. In Spanish possession since 1580, Ceuta is home to a mixed population of Christians and Muslims. Morocco does not officially recognize Ceuta and Melilla as Spanish territories and often refers to them as occupied lands. Spain is a main point of arrival into Europe for people seeking to migrate. Many migrants who reach Ceuta or Melilla are immediately turned back, but others are held in migrant shelters while they apply for asylum in Spain. In early July, the Spanish Supreme Court ruled that migrants intercepted at sea could no longer be summarily returned to Morocco, which removed the deterrence that had held the numbers down, and smuggling networks spread the word that the door to Ceuta had effectively opened. On the Moroccan side, border guards who for years had blocked these crossings were, by numerous accounts, suddenly absent from the gates, and tens of thousands walked and swam through in a single day. More than half the population of the enclave arrived in hours. Under Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, he broke ranks with the West and became one of the sharpest European critics of Israel due to the Gaza war, and moved to restrict Spanish ports and airspace to the machinery of the wars Washington and Israel were prosecuting. Spain had, in the language of alliances, defected. Months before the border broke in April 2026, an article appeared in the Israeli outlet Ynet, written by a Moroccan fellow of a pro-Israeli think tank, calling openly for Israel to help Morocco recover Ceuta and Melilla so that the US and Israel could, in the writer's own words, punish a NATO member that had repeatedly chosen obstruction. As Spain's border collapsed, the Israeli UN ambassador Danny Danon publicly celebrated the Spanish catastrophe and demanded Spain to give up Ceuta to Morocco. Spain, much like South Africa, is now suffering from a social crisis, soon after standing against Israel over its actions in Gaza. China has crossed a major energy milestone. During the first half of 2026, coal generated 49% of China's electricity, falling below half of the country's power mix for the first time. Just 10 years ago, coal supplied around 65% of Chinese electricity. At its peak a decade ago, China was opening a new coal-fired power plant every 10 days. The figures now show that something important is changing. Renewable energy generated around 41% of China's electricity during the first half of the year. Wind and solar alone supplied a quarter of this, compared with less than 10% in 2020. China is therefore not simply closing coal plants and replacing them with renewables. Instead, it is building an enormous electricity system in which coal, nuclear, hydroelectric power, wind and solar operate alongside one another. Beijing views energy security as a fundamental part of national power. China imports large quantities of oil and gas through maritime routes that could be disrupted during a major conflict. Coal, by contrast, is available domestically, while solar panels, batteries, wind turbines, and much of the infrastructure required for renewable energy are also manufactured inside China. The expansion of renewables, therefore, serves more than an environmental objective. It reduces China's dependence on imported energy, strengthens its industrial base, and makes the country more resilient to sanctions, blockades, and instability in the Middle East. China also dominates many of the industries behind the global energy transition. It is the world's leading manufacturer of solar panels, batteries, electric vehicles, and much of the equipment used in renewable energy systems. China is attempting to build an energy system that is cleaner, more electrified, and, most importantly from Beijing's perspective, less vulnerable to the outside world.